First of all, can you agree with the President Trump, that there are national security issues raised by the illegal immigration across the southern border?
Oh, certainly. David, it's good to be with you. My visit to Mexico, along with two of my colleagues, pointed out how important it is, though, to have a strong relationship with Mexico. They help us in dealing with illegal immigrants coming into America. What Mexico does on its southern border, particularly from those coming in from Central America, is very important in stopping the illegal flow of immigrants into the United States. So we have to work with Mexico. Yes, we want to have tight border controls. Where I disagree, though, is that people who are refugees, people who are escaping, in some cases, their own death, that America should have policies that recognize that these people that are at risk of losing their life can have refuge in the United States. They're not causing the problems. Refugees aren't causing the problem of security in America. We have people who want to come in to do harm. We got to know about them. We also need to stop illegal drugs coming into our country. In both cases, working with Mexico rather than working at ends with Mexico doesn't help us. Last point, the wall that the president's talked about. It won't make us safer. It won't stop illegal drugs. It won't stop illegal immigration. What it does is cause a real problem with working with Mexico, which can compromise our security.
So, Senator, more than once in what you just said, you talk about working with Mexico. President Trump's executive order was unilateral, and the actions taken by the Department of Homeland Security were unilateral. And that has really apparently raised problems with our relations in Mexico. I want to play for you something that we heard earlier today from Carlos Gutierrez. He was, of course, Secretary of Commerce under George W. Bush, also CEO of Kellogg's. And he really raised concerns about our relations with Mexico right now. Just take a listen to this.
Mexicans are up in arms. I haven't seen such tension between the two countries since, say, the 1970s, the 1980s, when Mexico was very nationalistic, it was very protectionist, it was just a very different country. Our relationship had grown to levels, positive levels that we hadn't seen before, and now we run the risk of backtracking. Mexico has a presidential election in 2018. We could be creating the conditions for an anti-American populace taking over Mexico.
So, Senator Cardin, does what you heard just now from Carlos Gutierrez square with what you saw for yourself in Mexico earlier this week?
Well, when Senator Merkley and Senator Markey and I met with our counterparts of the Mexican Senate, they told us that specifically. They were very clear that what President Trump is doing shows a lack of respect for Mexico, and it's difficult to have a positive relationship under those circumstances. So absolutely, the language that's used by the president is unilateral statements, the building of the wall and saying the Mexicans are going to pay for it. All that very much damages the ability politically for Mexico and the United States to work together.
Senator, I think we can all agree, and you've agreed already, that there is an issue involving Mexico with respect to immigration and how we best handle it. Is there room for a bipartisan approach? Can you reach across the aisle? Can they reach across the aisle and come up with a plan that everyone can get behind?
Oh, absolutely. I visited the border in El Paso and talked to our border personnel. They need investments in better equipment. They need investments in better technology. I think Democrats and Republicans can agree that we need additional resources. I was listening to Speaker Ryan's comments about providing additional help to our border people. I think we could agree on that. I would hope we could agree on fixing our broken immigration system. We need comprehensive immigration reform. That would make us safer. The Senate passed a comprehensive immigration bill 3 years ago. We need to get back to that and get that done. That would help make us safe, and it should be bipartisan, Democrats and Republicans working together.
We're very much focused on immigration this week because of what came out of the White House and the Department of Homeland Security. We also have the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, meeting this week about leadership in your party, the Democratic Party. You had a loss across the board in November. Is there leadership going forward that could work with this Trump White House to get some of the bipartisan approach that you just described on immigration?
Well, we certainly want our country to succeed. We're going to do everything we can to help pass policies that help America in its future. Therefore, we will work with this administration, we hope, on an infrastructure bill to rebuild our bridges and our roads, our transit systems, our energy grids, our water infrastructure. We will hopefully work with this administration on other issues. But where the president takes us in the wrong direction, I think you're going to see us speak out forcefully to protect American values. We did that on his attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We're going to do that on his executive order, which we think is misguided, dealing with immigrants, what he just did with the transgenders in reducing their rights. We're going to speak out against those statements or those policies, because that's not what America's about. That's not adding to the strength of our country.
And no one would expect anything else from the loyal opposition, so to speak. But at the same time, you have people within your party who've become very popular, the Bernie Sanders of this world, Elizabeth Warrens, who are perceived as being more on the left wing and less likely to reach compromise with the center. Is there a future within the Democratic Party for a centrist movement? There was back in the 80s, frankly, both you and I remember, with the DLC, when we had both Governor Clinton, as he then was, and Al Gore come forward. Do you see that possible leadership within the Democratic Party?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think this really is a philosophical difference right now. I think the main problem we're having is the manner in which President Trump is governing, the fact that he tries to govern through tweets, the fact that he's done things that we think are so outrageous that are not really considered to be conservative or progressive. They're just wrong. And I think we're trying to find a coalition within our party, as well as working with Republicans, to put America on the right path.